Chapter 27. Unwillingly, he called out for Chuck. "Bro, I have something to tell you." "What's the matter?" Chuck Cannon turned and looked at Wilbur Wendell, who was chasing after him. Wilbur's face twitched as he looked out of place trying to chase after Chuck, and he cursed in his heart. "Damn it, you disgraced me, I'll definitely have my revenge on you." He was very worried about the remaining money. After thinking through the whole thing, there was absolutely no way for him to get the rest of the money, so he forced himself to leave the room and negotiate with Chuck. However, seeing as Charlotte also turned her head and looked at him puzzledly, Wilbur couldn't find the words to express what he was thinking. There was a pretty lady there and he couldn't just tell Chuck casually, "Forget it, bro, I was joking just now," could he? He clamped his mouth shut and after a while, he snorted through his gritted teeth, "Nothing." After that, he turned around and looked for the toilet to hide into. Chuck laughed. Charlotte was curious and asked him, was there something wrong with Mr. Wendell? "Probably." Chuck gleefully answered, thinking to himself, "This guy must have come after me since he doesn't have any money. Well, let's see how you fare tomorrow." "Thank you," Charlotte said gratefully. "Don't thank me yet. It's still a question of whether this deal can work out or not," Chuck replied. "Thank you anyways." Charlotte was sincere. Chuck had helped her become an official employee on the first day of her job. Otherwise, she would still be worried about her job at this moment. "It's okay. Where do you stay?" "I'll send you back first." Chuck looked at her. "Okay." Charlotte blushed. If he sent her home, should she invite him upstairs for a drink? He was so handsome today that her eyes lit up the moment she saw him. She almost couldn't recognize him as the Chuck who had bought the car. Sure enough, rich people do get to change their looks easily. Her thoughts ran wild. She couldn't risk making the first move. Since he was rich and probably had a lot of women, it would be best for her to stay reserved a little more. Chuck didn't think too much about it. Since Charlotte had gone out of her way to drive his car here, the least he could do was to send her home. If he wasn't in a rush, he would probably even treat her to a meal. The two of them took the elevator down. When Wilbur charged after them, the people in the room were surprised. "What's Wilbur doing out there?" "Who knows? However, beautiful Zelda Main, your boyfriend this time isn't that bad. He must be loaded to be able to pay a deposit of $300,000 at one shot." The ladies all chattered excitedly. Although some of them came from ordinary families, they were all working as executives and had an annual salary of over a few $1,000,000. However, there was a huge gap between them and Chuck Cannon, who had simply made a deposit of $300,000. Zelda Main stared at the direction of the door where Chuck had left. Today, Chuck really surprised her with his new look and amazing calmness when dealing with unforeseen circumstances. She almost couldn't predict what he was going to do anymore. When he has kissed her just now, it didn't actually feel bad. But she was someone who preached being single. "Don't think about it first, it's just a kiss. I'll forget it when I wake up tomorrow morning after a good night's sleep." "Stop thinking about it," Zelda assured herself. "Beautiful Lady Main, shouldn't you be telling us how you managed to know such an amazing person? Did you guys do it last night?" Quincy teased. Zelda smiled awkwardly. "What sort of friends were they?" "Come on and spill the beans, we are all sisters, so we need to share secrets with each other." The other beautiful women also agreed. To be honest, Chuck made them curious. Zelda could only briefly go into how she had met him, which amazed Quincy and the others. All it took for them to meet was just parking a car, so simple. In that case, it's definitely fate that brought you two together. You should seize the opportunity, Quincy smiled and said. Zelda Main was speechless. Seize what opportunity? The two of them had completely no chemistry at all right? When Chuck kissed her just now, she didn't actually feel her heart racing. In other words, it felt the same as a simple handshake between two people of the opposite sexes, no more no less. When they got into the car, Chuck's mobile phone rang. At first glance, it was a stranger who added him on WeChat. Chuck clicked on the stranger's profile picture and realized that it was indeed Wilbur Wendell's WeChat account. This person was seriously poor, or else why would he add Chuck on WeChat? Chuck smirked, but didn't bother to pay attention to him for the time being. He would have plenty of time to take revenge later. He put his phone down and asked Charlotte Yales where she lived. She told him and he drove her back. On the way, Charlotte was conflicted. She was worried about how the conversation her cousin's sister and Chuck was going. After all, she clearly knew that her cousin was much more open-minded. Men always like women who were willing to take the initiative to approach them. In that case, was Chuck having a good conversation with her? It could be possible. Charlotte started in a small voice. Well, my cousin. Yes, I've added her on WeChat. Chuck Cannon said. How have you two been getting along? Charlotte was a little nervous when she asked. She didn't want to pretend to be lofty, she did like rich men. What more, Chuck Cannon's look had improved drastically. She was attracted by his rich, young and upstanding demeanor. It's okay, but you can't tell your cousin who I am. Chuck was serious. Why? Charlotte asked curiously. She suddenly remembered that Chuck Cannon was a student, and so was her cousin. Did they know each other? Chuck gave her a look. Got it, Charlotte nodded in a hurry. Chuck was satisfied. Charlotte was disappointed. Chuck was actually her cousin's classmate. Did that mean they do have a bit of feelings for each other? Was Chuck trying to give Laura Jean a surprise? Soon, the car arrived at Charlotte's place. She got down from the car, still contemplating whether or not she should invite Chuck upstairs for a drink. Just as she was going to ask him, Chuck said, I'll treat you to dinner tomorrow. Huh? Charlotte was stunned. How could he possibly ask her to have dinner with him? In truth, Chuck did not mean anything else, just wanting to thank her for today. At that moment, two girls living on the same floor as Charlotte had just got off of work and was chatting away their exhaustion. Upon seeing Charlotte get down from the BMW 7 Series, they were stunned. You don't have time tomorrow? It's all right then. Chuck said. Yes, I'm free. Charlotte clarified hurriedly. How could she reject? Okay, I'll contact you tomorrow on WeChat then. He said as he drove away. Charlotte was excited. Hello, Charlotte Yales, is he your boyfriend? A girl with great assets walked over to her in surprise. She was Charlotte Yales's classmate. They had a stable job, yet still didn't earn enough, so they temporarily rented a house together. Charlotte turned around at the sound and saw her classmate's envious look. To be honest, she felt smug upon seeing it. It was all the work of her vanity. The three of them women had looked for a job at almost the same time. However, she was already a full-time employee, when one was still in an internship and the other was still looking for a job. All of a sudden, Charlotte felt that she was doing pretty well. Now that she has a job, she could earn a decent commission this month. But it was all because of Chuck Cannon. Should she be repaying him? We haven't known each other and we're still friends. It'll probably take a while for us to become lovers, Charlotte said coolly. He's already sent you home, so it shouldn't be long. It's so nice that your boyfriend actually drives such a posh car. If only I could get a ride too. I have never been driven anywhere on such a luxurious car. Another girl with glasses said enviously. The car is very comfortable. Next time when there's a chance, you guys can also have a ride, Charlotte said. Really? That's great. By the way, Charlotte, you don't have to do the cleaning in the future. Just leave it to us. Yes, you don't have to do anything. Since you found such a great boyfriend, you have to marry into a wealthy family in the future, all right. Just leave the cleaning to us, don't do any chores anymore. After that, they went upstairs. How can I be so shameless? Charlotte said nonchalantly. She was a little surprised, there were so many perks of knowing a rich guy. It's okay, it's nothing. Just don't forget us and what we've done in the future. I won't. Charlotte Yales enjoyed this feeling very much. The flattery of her classmates made her even more certain to find a rich boyfriend. At this point, Chuck Cannon was the best choice she had. Chuck Cannon parked his car by the road, because he subconsciously drove to Yvette Jordan's house. He was halfway there when he suddenly remembered that Yvette's house now belonged to him. In other words, he still didn't know where she was. He could only make a phone call, but he hesitated for a moment. Should he call her as Chuck Cannon or as a baller to ask her what had happened? After thinking about it for a minute, Chuck still decided to call her up and ask her. After all, he still hoped that she would know he was always there for her. The phone rang for a long time before the call went through, but the only thing that could be heard was Yvette's breathing. Yvette Jordan, why did you call me? Chuck wanted to ask what happened, but it was safer to ask like this. It's nothing. Yvette sounded distant. The long time he took to call her had already worn down her patience. If there's anything, tell me, Chuck said patiently. Will it do me any good if I tell you? You'll never be able to help me, forever. The voice sounded desperate. Who said so? Tell me what's wrong, and I'll help you solve it immediately. Chuck was anxious. He did not believe that there was a problem that could not be solved with money. He wanted to let Yvette know that she had always been looking down on him in the past until now.